Hello, hello, kings and queens and everybody in between. Welcome back to another episode of the Goddess Complex with Ashley Michelle. And of course, I never fail you all. I have another amazing guest. In fact, this guest will be closing out our guest for 2024. Quick side note, I'm already filling up for guests for 2025. So if you know you want in, email us at info@starseedshadows.com. This guest is warm and near and dear to my heart. She is a previous client of mine and has just blossomed into this so super amazing and talented astrologer. Let's just say she's doing her big one. So I'm going to let her introduce herself, and we are going to get into some of the major transits for 2025 that you need to be paying attention to. Welcome to the pod, girlfriend.
Hi, I'm so excited to be
I'm
here.
so excited to have you. Tell the people who you are, where you're from, what your magic is, and what are we doing today?
I am Susannah Perry. I am in Tennessee. I am the Venus reader. I'm an astrologer. I work with Venus, with people's Venus placements to help them on a path of self love, on a healing journey. If we're looking for empowering thought, embodying like our
Hmm.
true self, that is all mapped out for us in our Venus placement.
Uh,
And one of my favorite things to do is to dive into someone's chart and go through that and just help them on that journey. So
oh, I
is
love
my
it.
that is my thing.
Yeah, and you're so, so good at it too. So, since you're an astrologer, why don't you let the people know what your big three are, sun, moon, and
It's all
rising?
Virgo. First, I am a Virgo sun, moon, and rising. I
Yes.
also have the asteroid Vesta conjunct my sun in the first house.
Ooh.
And Vesta is all about our sacred inner flame. She's
Hmm.
our the woman sovereign unto themselves, and
Yeah.
I have that conjunct my sun, so that is a
Wow.
big one too. So I'm also
Mm,
a Virgo Mercury, and my Venus is
wow.
in Leo.
Wow,
So
very interesting. So
mhm.
yeah, tons of Virgo placements. So Virgos out there, don't fret. You're in good company.
Got
Very
you.
good company. Yes, so true. And so I wanted you on today because, like I said, I've watched you blossom into this amazing astrologer. And speaking of Virgo placements, our Virgos are known to pay attention to detail. And so when I was thinking about, because you all know, those of you that have listened to the pod for a while, we always do a like into the astrology of next year sort of episode. And I knew I didn't want to do it alone this time. And so that's why I wanted to call Susannah on because she'd pay attention to details and things that maybe I would miss. Also, too, quick side note, if you all want to watch this, make sure you click on the YouTube, click subscribe, and like it, darlings.
You're adorable. Come watch us.
Yes, come watch us. Come watch us. Where can the people find you? And we'll say it again towards the end, but just in case people are curious, what's your IG handle?
So my IG handle is Stargazer Astrologer,
Okay.
GER. Um,
Okay.
and so you can find me on Instagram there, and in my bio, there's links to everything else. I'm also my website is stargazer-astrology.com.
Cool, cool. And you
Yeah.
already know, party people, we will have it all in the show notes. Let's take into 2025. So I know we're here to talk astrology, but I kind of wanted to set the stage for 2025 and the fact that we are going into a hermit year in tarot. And if those of you who are like, what the hell are you talking about, sis? So in tarot, we can add the years together to figure out the card that we're going to be working with. So 2024 was a strength year in tarot, meaning that as a collective, we're going to be looking at signs and ways and situations where we need to understand what the word strength means and how it's looking to manifest in our lives and worlds. And tomorrow, or not tomorrow, next year, 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5 is giving us a 9 number. And 9 is correlated to the Hermit card in tarot. Um,
And Virgo.
and Virgo. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because the Hermit's ruled by Virgo. I love that. Love that. See, I knew I picked right. I knew that. And so for those of you who are less familiar with the tarot, in a nutshell, The Hermit card is really about going internal. It's about doing that internal soul work. It's about sitting with yourself, doing the study, getting really deep on what you're trying to do and what you're looking to accomplish. Whether you're in school and trying to do a course, or whether you're really on a path of like working through trauma. Like there's different stages of this. But at its core, the Hermit card is truly about taking some time away from those distractions to do the thing that you've been looking to do. How do you feel about that, Susanna?
I love it. The Hermit card is all about that inner lantern and about that
Yeah.
knowing that what you need, what you are searching for is not out. It's not out around us. You know, we've
Mm-hmm.
just had the strength card. We've found this strength. We have
Mm-hmm.
found our authenticity, and the strength
Mm-hmm.
card is associated with Aries, I think. No, Leo, duh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Obviously. Leo, we found this authenticity and now, yeah, we are ready to go within to find what we really want. And that's, I love that it's a hermit year.
I do
And the
too.
fact and the strength card really was speaking to me a lot this past year. So
Same,
yeah,
yeah. And so if those
a
of
lot of
you who are
throat
looking,
chakra stuff this year.
yeah. I would say that. I worked a lot with my solar plexus this year.
Mm,
And that goes to show, friends, how like the strength card can show up for different people in different ways. So, at the time this episode is coming out, we've got just a few weeks left in 2024. I would urge you to go back and think about how strength has shown up for you and what are you bringing with you into this hermit year next year. It's a great activity to do. Not too witchy, not too woo, but you can make it more witchy and more woo as needed. You
your
know?
mileage may vary.
Exactly. I love it. I love it. So Susanna, I have a question for you. Out of the transits, that we talked about, or even if we didn't talk about it, which one of those do you think speaks to this hermit year the most?
Oh, without a doubt, the nodes changing signs, the north and south
Yeah.
nodes
hmm
changing
So
signs into Pisces and Virgo.
so let's talk about it.
Let's
So
do.
why don't we just dive into the basics of the nodes, what they are, how we find them, where they are now, nodes changing,
Yeah,
all that good
so
stuff.
the nodes are not an actual, they're not a thing out there in the sky. They are a mathematical geometric calculation, basically. But
Mm-hmm.
of they are the points where the orbit of the moon around the earth intersects the orbit of the earth around the sun.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a north node and a south node. And our north node represents our path forward. It represents
Mm-hmm.
where we're going in life, what we're drawn to. It's going to be
Mm-hmm.
something that we're excited about,
Mm-hmm.
something that, yeah, kind of like a toddler energy.
Mm-hmm.
And our south node is karma, it's past lives. It can be patterns that we fall back into, is the
Yeah.
big place.
Yeah.
And the nodes transit the zodiac always in reverse. So they
Mm-hmm.
start at the 29th degree of a sign, that anaretic degree, and they move backwards.
I've always found that
I
fascinating.
know, me too.
Mm-hmm.
So for
Yeah.
the past 18 months, they have been in Libra and Aries.
Yeah.
The North Node has been in Aries, and the
Mm-hmm.
South Node has been in Libra. And this is our
Mm-hmm.
relational axis. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Aries is that drive, that individuality, that fire to go
Mm-hmm.
forward. It's cardinal fire. Like it's let's go,
Leadership,
leadership and
all of
everything.
that.
And then
Mm-hmm.
Libra, we have on the other side of this axis is it is our relationships, it is harmony
Mm-hmm.
and justice, it's what we learn about ourselves through
Mm-hmm.
our relationships with other people.
Exactly.
I love that it's this seventh, this point of the zodiac where we have these first six signs and we're like doing this and paying attention and we're inside and
Mm-hmm.
our heads up and we're like, holy crap, there's other people out here.
Yeah. Yeah,
And so for the
exactly.
past 18 months, like that's what we've been focusing on. So
Mm-hmm.
people, think about
Yeah.
the past 18 months and where those houses are in where those signs are in your chart.
Right, right.
So
I think
we
you
are, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, no, no worries. I think that you're speaking to something that's really important that I think kind of gets lost in astrology sometimes, especially when folks are just learning.
Mhm.
All the signs have an opposite. It's kind of like as above, so below, and they're opposites for a reason. So, as Susanna was saying, the notes have been in this Aries Libra axis. One is about the self. Aries, and the other is about the other, Libra. And so they're learning, they're playing this beautiful dance of learning how to kind of work through one another, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. When do we need to relate to self? When do we need to relate to other? When are we doing too much of being in the other? Because one of the lower octaves of Libra is that codependency. And when do we need to rely on ourselves and vice versa?
Mhm.
And we can see these lessons as a collective through the nodes. So I think you just said that really beautifully. And I think we need to pay more attention to those opposites and how they work. And so, as you said, the nodes are switching now.
They are shifting,
They are
and they are
shifting.
moving into Virgo and Pisces. Let me
What do
tell
you
you.
think? Yeah, what do you think Pisces and Virgo need to learn from one another?
So, Pisces and Virgo, this axis is all about our mind body connection. I
Mm-hmm.
really find, I think this really true. This may be an unpopular take, I'm not sure, but I think this is the most intuitive axis. I think this is absolutely, this axis is about our intuition. This is about
Yeah.
tuning into our body. This is about
Mm-hmm.
bringing our intuition into our everyday life and making it part of our routine. You know,
Yeah.
Virgo is about our health, our daily routine. It's about
Mm-hmm.
it's yeah, it's our health, it's our daily routine, it's our habits, it's our body. It rules the gut. The gut is our second brain. And then
Yes, it is.
Pisces is the sign at the end of the zodiac. It's where everything comes together. Pisces wants to
Mm-hmm.
dissolve all the boundaries with everything.
I
And the
couldn't have
truth
said it
is,
better myself.
yeah,
Dissolve
and
all the boundaries.
they want to
Yeah.
dissolve all boundaries. And the truth is that wherever you have Pisces in your chart is probably an area where you struggle with boundaries. You know?
Interesting. Do you feel called out right now? Dear listener, if you're feeling called out right now, it's with love.
It is with love,
I
because you know
love
what? I
that.
have Pisces in my sixth and seventh house, and I struggle
Mm-hmm.
with boundaries.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Super
Yeah.
fascinating. So we've got the North Node. The North Node's moving into Pisces, because again, the nodes move backwards. So if the North Node was just an Aries, friends, just making sure you're alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic. The North Node was an Aries, and that means it's going into Pisces. And our
Yes.
South Node is going into Virgo. And I guess we should make this distinction here because I know we're at all levels. We all have a North Node and South Node on our natal, aka birth chart. What we are talking about is the current nodes in the sky, which means that we are going to be seeing collective lessons
Mhm.
within the energies of these signs. So
Kind of.
with that, yeah. So with that being said, North Node and Pisces collectively, how does that feel for you?
So in Pisces, the North Node, the North Node is acting like as this guide. It is towards
Mm,
a guide towards new growth and new potential. It wants us to
mm-hmm,
develop Piscean qualities. So
mm-hmm,
this is going to be emphasizing a spiritual evolution, compassion,
mm-hmm,
intuitive understanding, things like that. So
And what about the South Node? Because
the
I find
South
that's
Node,
interesting that we're going into, because I didn't put this together until just now. We are going into a Hermit year ruled by Virgo, and our South Node is going to be in Virgo, which means we are going to be, having a really, really hard look at some rather hard things to look at, if that makes sense. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? I'm dying to know.
so, well, the South Node is like it's like this cosmic broom when it comes through. The South Node sweeps
I
through,
love
it takes
that.
away our outdated habits and beliefs.
Yes.
Like it helps release what no longer aligns with us. And in Virgo, this is
Mm-hmm.
going to be our habits. This is going to be the stuff in your life. If something falls away from your life, let it. It is
Yeah.
supposed to. Like in these next 18 months, pay attention to the things that, well, only a little bit of attention, let them go.
Yeah.
But when
Yeah.
things are taken out of your daily routine, when there are things that no longer feel aligned, like follow that, that
Mm-hmm.
is your South Node getting rid of them. It is making room for new energies. Because
Yeah.
that's, the South Node, when it transits a house, ultimately its job is to teach you to let go. It
Yeah.
is to provide closure and to prepare you for the change that the North
Mm-hmm.
Node wants to bring in.
Mm. Snaps.
So,
Snaps on that. Now, with that being said, this conversation is making me think of, Mama Saturn.
Mm.
That's what this
I
conversation made me think
love
of.
that you call her Mama Saturn.
Mama
Thank
Saturn,
you.
not Daddy Saturn,
Your
friends.
daddy
Mama
Saturn is not
Saturn.
mad. This is Chrome,
Yes,
Capricorn
yes,
energy.
yes, yes, Mama Saturn.
Hmm.
Say you're a real astrologer without saying you're a real astrologer. Sorry if any of you guys feel called out that have been calling Saturn Daddy Saturn. Saturn is a
Big
feminine
Daddy Saturn
planet.
has no spankings for you. This is not that
No,
kind of party.
no, not that kind of party. Not that kind of party.
It
But it
is, just
made
not from him.
exactly right, exactly. But it makes me think of Saturn because Saturn is this planet that will continue giving you the fucking lesson until you learn it and pay attention to it. And I find like when we talk about the South Node and talk about, the cosmic broom and sweeping things away that no longer work, it makes me think of myself because I'm so hard-headed and I do what I want, and other folks who might be resistant. And I want to talk a bit and explore this idea of resistance to change and resistance to that which no longer serves us. We know a certain thing is no longer serving us, but we just keep going at it because we want to be right or we want to do what we want or we don't care. And then Saturn comes in like, "Oh, honey, did you not hear me the first time?" And we
She
know
will raise her voice.
she will raise her voice. And Saturn is doing that in 2025, as we know, because our Saturn and Pisces crew, Saturn returns in Pisces crew, they're finally done. They're finally
Bless their
done. I
hearts.
know. Saturn returns are rough.
Y'all.
They're rough. They're rough.
I actually have a theory. I think
Tell
I've
me.
learned more from my Saturn oppositions
Ooh.
than my Saturn return. My Saturn return changed my circumstances, my physical circumstances in big
Mm.
ways. Things were shook up.
So were mine
My
now that I think
Saturn
about it.
opposition
Yeah.
taught me what I did right and what I did wrong.
Can you explain Saturn opposition for the listeners?
Yeah. So Saturn takes about 28 to 30 years to go around the chart.
Mm-hmm.
So around 28 to 30 years old, you're going to have your Saturn return, which is where Saturn returns to the spot it was when you were born.
Mm-hmm.
Opposition is when it is 180 degrees. It is opposite.
Right.
And so Saturn is all about these lessons and these boundaries and all of the
Mm-hmm.
hard stuff.
Yeah.
So it goes all the way around the zodiac and it takes in all those lessons, but it gets
Mm-hmm.
it gets halfway back and it looks back at where it was and it's like, all right, what do we got? What have we
Yeah.
done? What do we got to do for this other half?
Yeah, I love that. That makes me want to look at my oppositions. Speaking to Saturn, Saturn is moving out of Pisces and
Saturn is moving out
into,
of Pisces.
yes, and into Aries.
Yes.
Um,
Now, before Saturn
yeah.
does that, it will meet up with the North Node and such as it's moving into Pisces and stuff. So
Ooh,
that's the
yeah.
last thing I want to mention
Mm-hmm.
about the nodes is let's
Mm-hmm.
remember these planets that we have in these later degrees of Pisces because they will be
Yeah.
interacting with that North Node at the beginning of the year.
My midheaven can't wait. My midheaven is in Pisces.
Mm.
So it's gonna be quite an interesting year as far as work goes. And our midheaven friends, it's also known as your MC line. It's somewhere between the ninth and the 10th house. It's your career line. So you can look to your midheaven to get an idea of what feels good to your soul to do for work. And
It's your
mine,
highest point of
your
visibility.
highest point, right? And so my midheaven is in Pisces, so it's going to be right on top of the collective North Node, which I love. I'm not so thrilled about Saturn hanging out there, but I'll live. I'll
Boundaries are our
live.
greatest act of self-love.
They really, really are, and I think that's going to be one of the biggest lessons is understanding where maybe we don't have boundaries and also where we maybe have too many boundaries. And also, like, it makes me think of boundaries with self. Not to tangent too much, because I know we were going to go to Saturn friends, but when I think of Pisces, one of the lower octaves of Pisces is that they don't have boundaries with self. They neglect themselves often. Like they will give the shirt off their backs to somebody else, but then they don't have a shirt. They will give their last crumb to somebody else, but then they're starving. It's the martyr syndrome that Pisces displays often, which can be beautiful, but much to their defeat. And so it also makes me think of this idea of like, what do I need? What do we need to make sure that we're whole? You know, let's get down from the clouds, Pisces, and let's get grounded and rooted into what's happening here right now. And I think that's going to be a really big lesson, especially for the folks with a lot of placements in Pisces or very intense placement in Pisces, thinking of like the big three or a Saturn, for example. You know, like one
Mhm.
of the last lessons for those folks with Saturn and Pisces is probably going to be something around this,
Yeah.
you know? And so, but yeah,
And
so Saturn and Aries, I know, right?
yeah,
It just came through. So yeah, so Saturn and Aries,
Saturn
that's,
can fall in Aries,
I was gonna say that's a spicy one.
It's a spicy one. So,
Yeah.
Aries wants to go and do,
Mhm.
and Saturn wants to be a little more careful about it.
Saturn needs a plan.
Yeah,
If there's no
Saturn wants a
plan,
plan.
Saturn won't do it.
Saturn needs a
Yeah.
plan. And
Mhm.
Aries, like, I love y'all hard, but you don't plan. And that's
No.
okay.
Oh my
We need
God.
that energy. We need that energy.
Oh my God, my cousin has like 5 planets in Aries. And when I tell you that girl, she will just like willy-nilly, and she is an amazing entrepreneur. She's so successful, but she will just execute. And then I'm like, Jasmine, wait, hold on, hold on. We had this idea at midnight yesterday, and now we're doing it at 6 a.m. today. But like, and then I'm over here, like my like stellium in Capricorn is like, hold on. Like, like how are we going to make sure this is successful? I'm so glad that you pulled the trigger, but like, can we make sure this is going to work?
We are creating something that other people are going to die.
Exactly. We're not, what are we doing? It's like A to Z. And so I think Saturn has this beautiful opportunity, though, to slow it down for that Aries energy and to really create something amazing and maybe help folks with a lot of Aries placements and those folks who are about to enter their Saturn return into understanding the beautiful nuances of having a plan. And a plan doesn't always have to equate to boring, you
Right.
know? Hmm.
Yeah. And I think also, I think this Saturn and Aries, this is like personal boundaries and self-discipline. And this
Yeah.
is, or
Yeah, for sure.
self-devotion. I actually really like to
Hmm.
use the word devotion in place of
Yeah.
discipline.
I like that.
It's just, who doesn't love devotion? And that's what it is
Right,
when we're
right.
talking about, especially when it's to ourselves. So
It's a
this is
beautiful
like
word.
authentic identity that's full of like integrity and respect.
Hmm.
So it's a lot
Hmm.
of it's boundaries as self-respect. And I think it's a really good chance to learn to protect our personal energy.
Ooh,
That's what you were talking
snaps on
about, putting
that.
boundaries on ourselves. This is
Hmm.
building inner stability and really protecting our personal energy, I think.
Hmm.
Saturn and Aries.
Yeah, yeah. I like that idea of personal energy. Because okay, so Aries being the firstborn of the zodiac, it's kind of an oxymoron in astrology. So because Aries is the firstborn in astrology, Aries is known as the baby of the zodiac. There's this idea, there's this immature energy behind Aries. And not to call Aries folks immature, I'm just saying what it is. And depending on how many Aries placements you have and what is going on in your chart, there could be ways within which you may handle situations with a lack of maturity. And Saturn, in my personal opinion, gives like this breadth of maturity and stability. Yeah. And so it's going to be interesting to see this like clash of the Titans and how it manifests in the babes that have Saturn and Aries over these next few years and what sorts of things they go through and what gifts Saturn brings to their doorstep.
Really curious.
Hmm.
I think it's a chance for us to be so mindful and intentional with how we invest our time and how we invest
Yeah,
our energy. So,
yeah.
and there's a retrograde period. Saturn's retrograde, uh, July 13th. So Saturn moves into Aries at the end of May.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
So we
goes
got some time.
retrograde from July, and we'll go back into Pisces in September for a little bit.
Okay. Okay.
So I actually don't know if we finish the year with Pisces in, or with Saturn in
Saturn and
Pisces or
Pisces.
Aries.
We might. So normally when that sort of stuff happens, It's like, it's almost, think about it, friends, like a preview. So we've got Saturn in Pisces for some time, and then Saturn dips its toes into Aries. Things start roweling up, they start getting all zhuzhed up and moved around. And just before any triggers pulled, it's like, just kidding. And then Saturn goes back into Pisces, and the folks that thought they were finished have a few more loose ends to tie up, and that's how that'll manifest. And
Mhm.
then we'll totally finish it out. We'll totally finish it out and be into the next phase. It's probably, I think, the best way to like give you all that imagery of what's going to happen. And what Susanna is explaining is that this is Saturn's pattern. The signs that Saturn does it in changes, but that's the pattern. So going into one sign, moving out of it for a little bit and coming back in. All the planets have patterns like that. Just the times differentiate based on where they are in the sky in relation to Earth.
And they actually, just if anyone ever is curious about this, they make beautiful patterns when they do that. This
Mhm.
is the one that Venus makes.
Oh my God. Where did you find that ring? Yeah, like
Um,
who's making rings of Venus's
I
patterns?
think I found it on Etsy, but this is the
Wow.
rose of Venus. Isn't that
Beautiful.
gorgeous? That's where she makes her transition from morning star to evening star and
It's giving geometric pattern. Not to
sacred
like
geometry.
sacred geometry. Like friends, I swear I did
Mhm.
not take any shrooms today. It's
Me
all
either. That's so
connected. I
disappointing.
is so disappointing. But like I
We need
get
to
my
do this again
10.
in both.
I know, I know. Can you imagine? Because like it really is, not to tangent even harder, but like it's crazy how it all is interconnected. If you all are
Mhm.
watching on the YouTube, you saw Susanna's ring. Was that not giving sacred geometry, friends? And this
It
is just the
absolutely is sacred
pattern.
geometry.
It's sacred geometry, and this is the pattern that Venus makes in the sky. I can't. And we can see these patterns in our natural world here on Earth. And we're saying all this is coincidence?
Not a
Let's,
chance.
right,
Not a
not a
chance.
chance, not a chance.
Mm-mm.
Anywho, speaking of Venus, let's go into the star of the show and let's dig into her retrograde.
Venus is going retrograde. She is.
Mm.
And she's going retrograde in Aries and Pisces.
Okay. Okay. So
So
where's Venus right now in the sky? And
at
at
the
the time that we're
moment,
listening
she's
to
in
this.
Sagittarius.
Okay. We love a good Venus and
We
Sag. That's
love a good
fun.
Venus and Sag. She is
Flirty.
playing, she is having fun, she is
Yeah.
flirting. She's fixing to
Yeah.
go into Capricorn though, and she's getting ready to get
Okay.
some shit done.
Yes. Get some shit done.
Let me
Get
tell
settled.
you, my Venus in Capricorn is ready to work.
I
I have
love
it.
that. I love
Mhm.
that. Is mine in Capricorn or in Aquarius? I look at so many goddamn charts, I can't remember my own. So while I'm looking that up, Susanna, I would love for you to just talk to the audience about a few things. I thought my Venus was in Capricorn. My Venus is also in Capricorn. Would
You're one of those early, isn't it an early 80s big Capricorn stellium?
It's late 80s
Late
big
80s.
Capricorn stellium. So I
I
have a
read about
huge,
3 or 4 charts in a row that they had that. And I was like, y'all are here to run the world.
yeah. Yeah.
Y'all are here to run the
Yes.
world.
Yeah. Massive stellium in Capricorn, which I need because my Sagittarius ass would be like running the wild, wild west if like I just let my sun sign go to hell. Like with the Aquarius moon, oh my God, I would be like protesting against something butt ass naked on a burning truck. So,
You know what? That might need to happen about now.
I know. I know. That's why that Capricorn stellium is like a cold glass of water. It's like, girl, do your big one the right way. Because again, Capricorn's ruled by Saturn. Bring
Mhm.
it, you'll be more effective if you bring it in with a plan
Mhm.
versus just lighting it on fire. So we'll see. We'll see. But I would love for you to talk to the audience about two things. What is a retrograde? Because you know, we get this question all the time. So I would love to hear your take on a retrograde and Venus in retrograde. What does it mean? And what does it mean for the world?
So retrograde just means the planet is not actually moving backwards or anything.
Hmm.
Retrogrades are basically an optical illusion,
Hmm.
because we draw our zodiac with the Earth at the center. It's not actually accurate. So when we're looking at these planets, they sometimes look like they're going like this, and that is
Yeah.
just based on it. Like I said, it's an optical illusion
Hmm.
based on the whole geometry, which is my basic. That's my understanding of
Yeah.
like the physical science going on.
Mm-hmm.
When a planet is retrograde, people look at it different ways. Mercury retrograde, we love to blame things going wrong.
Right. Right.
Mercury is in shadow as we're recording this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but generally, I think that a retrograde really wants us to focus those energies inward, wants us
Yeah.
to take those lessons inward. What do we need to learn about ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
It's a time to slow down,
Mm-hmm.
gurgle. It's a time
Mm.
to slow down and just pay attention.
Yeah. Great way to put it. Pay
Yeah.
attention. I think we get so caught up in like the daily activities and like the where we need to be and who needs what and that needs to happen when and all of this that I also too look at retrogrades the same way. You know, it's a time and space and a space and time for me to really slow down specifically on whatever themes that planet rules and whatever house that planet is going retrograde in for me.
And in whatever sign. And
And in
that's what
whatever
I
sign,
love
yeah.
about astrology. Like everyone's natal chart is so individual, unless
Mm-hmm.
you're twins, like your all's
Mm,
awesome episode on Mary Kate and
mm,
Ashley. Um,
Yeah, that was a good
but if,
one.
you know, that's what astrology is amazing because you can take, yes, this planet is retrograde in this sign for everyone, but
Mm-hmm.
in your chart, where that planet is and who it's talking to makes that very personal.
It
And that just
does. That's
knowing
how you
that,
personalize it.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that.
Uh, so what are the dates for Venus retrograde? I'm gonna like look it up on my chart so I can just kind of explain what you're saying.
Okay, so she
Um,
stations retrograde March 1st at 10 degrees of Aries, and then re-enters Pisces on the 27th of March, and then stations direct at 24 degrees of Pisces on April 12th.
okay, so here's what I'm gonna ask.
Mhm.
For the folks who are just getting into astrology, I know my listeners, they're confused. So, when does Venus go retrograde? March 1st?
March 1st.
And then Venus will go retrograde in the sign of Pisces.
She re-enters Pisces on March 27th.
Okay, so what sign is she in when she goes retrograde?
Aries.
Aries. Okay,
She
guys,
goes
you got that?
retrograde in Aries
Yes, so
and goes
Venus is going to
back
go
into Pisces.
yes, goes back into Pisces, and then she'll go back into Aries,
And then
if
she
that makes
goes
sense.
direct again on April 12th is when she turns direct. So she'll be in
Mm-hmm.
Pisces. She'll be at 24 degrees of Pisces. So the area of this chart that this is covering is from about 24 degrees of Pisces to 10 degrees of Aries.
Yeah, I see it. I see it happening right now.
Mhm.
So Venus is going to be essentially, friends, when you're looking at it, Venus, for me specifically, because I have an interception, is going to be hobbling through my 10th and 11th houses. So around that time, it will be really, really good for me to focus a lot of love energy into my 10th house, my house of business, and
Mhm.
into my 11th house, my house of community and friendships. So, like, maybe I create a new community. Maybe I focus on selling the current communities that I have. Maybe I spend more time with friends. Maybe I just let my business know why I fucking love her so much. Venus, in my personal opinion, please like add to this, is all about that like deep internal, that guttural sort of love, that passion, that pleasure. And it is a business planet. Venus loves money. Venus loves comfort.
She loves
Yeah.
comfort. She wants to feel good.
Mm.
She wants to
Yeah.
enjoy life.
hmm Honestly, that wouldn't be a bad idea for me to take a little vacay, to be quite
I
honest.
think that would be a lovely idea.
And maybe invite a few friends between the 11th
Mhm.
house, you know what I mean? So, and I want to get your guys' like minds rolling and how do you implement this work?
Mhm.
These are just ways that I could implement Venus retrograde for me.
I love that. It's
Mm.
the whole thing is happening in my seventh house. So that should
Oh,
be fun.
So tell the listeners, if you were reading somebody with Venus retrograde happening in your seventh house, what would you tell them?
Oh, Venus retrograde in your seventh house.
Mm,
That this is really going to be a time to make sure that you are valuing yourself in your relationship as much as you are valuing your partner, that you are not giving too
yeah.
much, that you are recognizing your own needs. That
Mm-hmm.
one of the themes that I'm thinking that I'm talking about for this Venus retrograde, we are reclaiming our authentic self-love.
Ooh, yeah.
Like, and we are releasing any sort of unrealistic ideals, illusions.
Mm-hmm.
So, looking at my relationships, and the seventh house, this is our romantic relationships, but this is also business partnerships. This is, anyone that we have like a contract with, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
So are we valuing ourselves? Are we advocating for ourselves? Are we making sure that we're getting what we are worth? You know?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
in all sorts of relationships. So that would be something that
Mm-hmm.
I would probably ask, that I will probably be asking myself quite a bit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And baby astrologers, I'll break down how Susanna got there. The seventh house is the house of one-on-one relationships, contracts, and partnerships, like she said. The retrograde, as we said before, is the time to slow down, is the time of deep reflection, is a time, it gives you a cause for pause, a retrograde. So she's taking a beat in the house of relationships and contracts and reassessing. Are we
Where
doing what
is
we
my
need to do
energy
here?
going?
Mm-hmm.
Because our energy is
Exactly.
our currency. We are talking about
Mm-hmm.
worth and value, and that is your
Mm-hmm.
greatest currency.
Sure is.
So, how are
Sure
you
is.
spending it? How are you valuing it? How are you
Mm-hmm.
conserving it? How are you
Mm-hmm.
replenishing it? It is
Yeah.
not, it is not, it is a renewable resource, but it is not
Mm-hmm.
always a self-renewing resource. Like,
Yeah.
it
Great
is not
point.
passively renewing.
Right. And to further your point, that was why I got to the point of me taking a vacation somewhere. Because I
Mhm.
was just talking to my husband about that the other day. It's been a while since we've taken a non-work related vacation.
Your
Just
ass
like,
on a trip.
yeah, like just like laying on a beach and drinking mimosas. Like it's been a while since we've done that. And, transiting my 10th house and my 11th house. Hold on. We know that, we're on the grind. We know we're working. We know we got goals. But how are we replenishing that energetic resource, And how are we doing that? And simultaneously creating community.
Mhm.
And, with a North Node in Aquarius, personally, a lot of my soul mission is to create community. So that's fascinating too. And again, this is how you can layer the astrology, friends. Like when you're reading somebody's chart, I have a Venus retrograde going through my 11th house and a North Node that is centered around community. So, I know that that's going to be a major theme in all the things that I do. How it's going to play a role is up to me. That's where the free will comes into play. So,
What's interesting about this Venus retrograde also is that she will be making a series of conjunctions with the North Node in
okay, what's she
Pisces.
hitting?
Um, the North Node, she's hitting. I actually have the
And
dates
a
written down.
conjunction is two planets sharing energy on top of one another.
Yes. So
They
she'll be making
fucking.
conjunctions with the North Node and Saturn and Neptune. All.
Ooh. See, Venus loves Neptune, but I feel like Venus would love Saturn, but Saturn wouldn't really love Venus, which is interesting because they have a lot in common if you really break it down. But Venus loves comfort and Saturn loves the grind. And that's where I feel like they differ.
They're both going to be in Pisces when it happens.
Kind of like that.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I'm doing a Venus retrograde course next year, so I'm
Oh,
going to dive into all of the
amazing.
the conjunctions and everything.
Okay. Is that live the time that people are listening to this?
Um, it will. I'm going to open up signups on Black Friday, so
Yeah.
I think this will be.
Okay.
It will still be live. I'll keep it live that first week of December, and
Okay.
so yes, it will be.
Yeah. So, I mean, friends, if you are just like, if your tits are hard right now, sign up for the course. Like if you're like, I need more, I can't get enough, sign up for it.
It's called
Um,
Sacred Self. And
Mm.
we're going to dive into Venus's retrograde path. We're going to look at themes of value, authenticity, soulful boundaries. We're going to look at these conjunctions.
Mm.
So this is for people ready to redefine self-worth and deepen their self-love. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. At the
Oh my
time of
God.
while we are recording, I'm still putting all the final touches together.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my God, the people I work with are so fucking cool. I just like, I'm obsessed with my job.
I'm obsessed with your job too.
I'm obsessed with it. Um, I love it. I love it. I love it. So,
Oh yeah.
Susanna, let's hit a few more transits.
Yeah, let's do.
What do you think would be the most pertinent for listeners, right now, moving into 2025? What other transit do you think we need to dissect, talk about a little bit more?
Um, you know what? We have got Jupiter. Let's see. Do we want to talk about Jupiter entering Cancer or Mars going direct?
Jupiter entering
Jupiter
Cancer.
entering Cancer because we both
Hmm.
have Jupiter in Cancer, don't we?
We do. And
Mine's
and
conjunct
Jupiter,
Mars.
mine is conjunct my ascendant and Chiron. Yay.
That's good stuff.
I
So
know.
Mars is about to be retrograde, and is retrograding through. It's a long retrograde.
Mars is a pretty long
Oh
retrograde,
yeah,
yeah.
but we're talking about Jupiter going into Cancer.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
started talking
Yeah.
about Mars because I said something about my Mars being in Cancer.
About your Mars, yeah. And
Yeah,
also
but
Mars is moving too. I was just looking at Mars the other day. So
oh,
that's kind of interesting that you gravitated towards Mars. Maybe we'll be able to hit them both. Well, I love talking about Jupiter
I
in
do
general.
too.
Jupiter's our planet of faith, luck, expansion, growth,
Education, travel,
education. Yeah.
adventures.
It's a juicy planet.
It's
It's
a
a juicy
good
planet.
one. And Jupiter loves to be in Cancer. This is
Yeah.
optimism and compassion. It's like spiritual nourishment.
I was just gonna say that, yeah. Very like intuitive energy. It's a vibe. Jupiter in
It
Cancer is a huge
is.
vibe.
It
Yeah. And
is.
so,
It's really a chance. This is going to be just really deepening self-compassion and emotional
hmm.
healing. And this is going to be like really taking a nurturing approach to your growth and
Yeah.
the compassion for yourself, for just everyone around
Mm,
you. This is going to be a transit we can use.
yeah, yeah.
This is
I
in
love how
June.
in June, a nurturing approach to your growth. I love that. And I'll say why. Blame it on the patriarchy. You all know I love blaming shit on the patriarchy.
Oh, I'm here
But,
for that shit.
right? Love it, right? And the
Mhm.
reason why, like what I'm about to say, I feel like is very patriarchal. We have this idea of like growth and like being like growing and expansion has to be this like hard, grind, work till you die. It's this
No.
idea that's been like, if we're not working from sun up to sundown, then we can't be doing anything of value. And that idea is slowly dying as we're allowing this matriarchal energy to come in and the divine feminine to really expand and grow and toxic masculinity to come on down, to bring it
Mhm.
on down. And Jupiter in Cancer is a lovely example of being this nurturing agent to our growth while still simultaneously allowing ourselves to grow into whatever we deserve and desire to be.
No.
You know, love it.
Jupiter, yeah. Jupiter in Cancer is such an opportunity for just really expanding like our emotional intelligence. And honestly,
Yeah.
it's a great energy to like connect with ancestral heritage and stuff because it's
Yes.
this
Yes, it is.
good Cancer fourth house.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I love that. Like
Yeah.
go learn about your ancestors.
Your
Jupiter loves to
ancestors,
learn,
your bloodline, ancestral magic, root work, like going back to basics, having conversations with your parents or your grandparents or your great grandparents if they're still around. Like, having conversations with them about how they grew up. And, there was something I came across. It was wild. It was like, I'm sure you've probably seen it, and you, dear listener, probably have too. That this generation, like the millennial generation, is like the last generation to remember what it was like before like social media and before like this intense version of technology. And like, I was like, Holy shit. They're right.
It's
And
crazy.
it makes me think, let's utilize these folks that came before us. I want to know what it was like when you went to school. I want to know what your first crush was like. Like I want to know all
I
these
know.
things. And Jupiter in Cancer is a really great time to explore who you are in your lineage because we are all magic and we are all magical. Just some of us choose to tap into it and some of us don't. So I
Yeah,
love that you brought up ancestral magic because Cancer is the divine mother.
it
Cancer,
is.
it is home. Cancer is comfort. Cancer is intuitive nature. Cancer is magic, all of that.
It's
And
also a great
water.
time to really grow like in our emotional intelligence, you know?
Yeah.
One of the things that I've really been working on is learning to speak from I statements. And
Ooh,
I just,
elaborate. Tell us
it's
more about that. What's
it's just a
that?
really powerful way of communicating and owning your own experience and not trying to
Mm-hmm.
define someone else's experience. It's not
Mm.
you did this, it's I feel this way.
Yeah.
And it's just, it is really, it's a conscious, more of a conscious and compassionate way to communicate. And
Yeah.
I don't know, I think it could do a lot of good in the world.
And I love that you say that too, because going back to the lower octaves thing,
Mhm.
Cancer and Cancer energy, and my rising is in Cancer. We are fantastic, fantastic listeners, but we have this beautiful ability for somebody to sit next to us and they can give us their whole life story while we've given you nothing.
Yeah.
It's this really great, crazy thing that Cancer energy can do, especially sun, rising, or moon. And so I love this idea of greater emotional intelligence. And because it's the crab, you have to think about it. The crab has a
Yeah.
soft interior and a harder exterior. And so it's harder for folks with the big three in Cancer to really allow people to come in. So when Jupiter enters Cancer, there's this space for expansion. It's
Mhm.
an invitation. It's an invitation to allow yourself to expand on how you are actually feeling about any given thing or any given relationship or any given thing that somebody does to you. Just really kind of owning it. I love that you brought that up and just kind of being able to explore that. And also to be that act of self-awareness of noticing when like you are clamming up, you are going back into your shell, you are retreating. What sorts of moments trigger you to retreat? Who the fuck did it? And maybe
Right.
we
And
might
like
want to look at
sometimes
those.
you need that. That's okay.
Sometimes you need that. And that might also give you this opportunity to look at those boundaries, working with that North Node in Pisces.
Mhm.
If you know who did it, then clearly we need some sort of boundary because that person I don't feel safe with if I'm retreating back into my shell around them.
Mhm.
So where are the
Then
boundaries?
perform that act of self-love and put that boundary
Hmm.
in place because your energy is fucking too
Exactly.
precious.
This is how we work with the
This is
stars.
how we work with astrology.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So good. So good. Oh my
Gratitude
God.
and abundance
Yeah.
is also the big one, the other big one with Jupiter. With
Gratitude and
Jupiter in
abundance.
Cancer, we can dive so deep into a gratitude practice.
Hmm.
And
There's
I
always room for a
really,
gratitude practice, but
there
definitely
is,
then.
there is.
Hmm.
But this is emotional maturity and trusting ourselves and just
Hmm.
authentic inner fulfillment. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm excited about Jupiter in Cancer. I
Me
really
too. Me too. So, I mean, that'll mean that we're about to go through our Jupiter return,
indeed
which is
we
a
are.
great space for luck, lucky with money specifically. Give
Mhm.
me a bag. I am ready. Who's going to give me a bag? I'm so ready. And so that's also a fun fact, friends. Wherever your Jupiter placement is, there's a great space to be really lucky with money. And when you're going through your Jupiter return, just a really good time for that. So, yeah.
Yeah, Jupiter in the 10th house.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Ooh, definitely. That Venus retrograde course is probably going to do bomb. And also, too, you never know what might come through for you around that time intuitively to create and offer into the world, too. So pay attention to that,
Yeah,
especially with Jupiter in the 10th and in Cancer. That sounds like a lot of intuitive hits around your business and your offers.
I think it does too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I like that for you.
Yeah.
Susanna, remind the people where can they follow you? Where can they find you? How can they work with you and support you?
So I am on Instagram at Stargazer Astrologer. There are links to my website to sign up with me. I've got my free Venus meditations download, which is a series of 8 meditations designed to change the way you are talking to yourself. So that is on
Mhm.
my Instagram. There are links to book with me. You can go directly to my website at stargazer-astrology.com. Please sign up for my email list. I send out full moon and new moon emails with journal prompts and rituals. And I also send out an email, and all this content is free. I send out an email every time Venus changes signs with
Mm.
looking at some transits that she's going to make and kind of what we got going on for each monthly transit. So
I
that's
love
where you can
it.
find me. Thank you.
I
This has
love
been
it.
so fun.
This has been so fun. I love talking astrology. Astrology and tarot will always be my first love, no matter what.
Right.
Just love
Right.
it. I love it. So, thank you all. Every single thing that Susannah said will be in the show notes. Make sure you like, share, give us a 5-star review on Apple Music, Spotify, wherever you get this podcast. If you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. We read all the comments and deeply appreciate it. And I will see you in the next one. And remember, you truly are limitless, but only if you believe it. Ciao, ciao for now. Hello, friends. I hope you loved today's episode. Make sure you share it with a friend, share it with somebody that you love, and tag me on the gram at Ashley Michelle 90 Day and let me know your thoughts. Leaving that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify is literally what helps this work get to the right people. As you may or may not know, we are in the middle of a spiritual revolution, and us being able to get our hands on resources like this podcast and others is what is literally going to make the world go round. So do me this favor and please leave me a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and share the episode with somebody you love. It really, truly does mean the world to me. I love you so very much, and I will see you in the next one.